Good afternoon, this is Lucky Link. So someone asked me to shoot a video on how not to get cold during these times, and there's a very specific, I have some very specific answers for that question. And cold is actually one of the 7 fears. And I also wanted to show you guys something else that I've done this kind of video before, but everyone's always making a big deal about you need to do all these things to your cards before you can bond with them and everything. Well, I ordered the Golden Girls Tarot when it was, I have a client in 5 minutes, and when I'm done, I'm going to come back and shoot this video, but I'm going to break it open, I'm going to use it with the client, and that's it, right out of the Amazon bag. I've been waiting for this. I pre-ordered this. I've been waiting for this for a while. So I'm going to use this one with a client, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to use this and some other information I've got on how do you, during these times, which is a huge time in human history, according to Tibetan Bon and what we were taught. It is a time where many people are becoming cold, and the question is, how do you not become cold? So I'm going to share with you the information on the 7 fears that I have. Cold is one of them. And then I'm going to also use the tarot deck, the Golden Girls Tarot deck. I think this is hysterical. It says, a look into your future from the lanai. So I'm totally going to use this if you haven't noticed lately, I'm trying to keep these people laughing in these videos and people smiling in these videos. So I'm gonna work with my client now. I got a client in about 5-10 minutes, and then after that, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna finish this video, and we're gonna talk about how do you not get cold during these times. All right, good afternoon. This is Lucky Links. This is specifically in response to a question that someone asked me. They said, how do you not get cold at this, how do you not get cold? How do you not lock down and get cold? Cold is one of the 7 fears. Okay, now this has to do with mind stuff and mind sciences, and I usually use this stuff, or have used this stuff over the years, when I'm dealing with people in hypnosis. But I'm also going to bring the cards into it, and I've just used my new Golden Girl cards for open them right up and use them with a client, and I got to tell you, these are amazing. I am in love with these. So who did this? She did the playing card deck, but anyway, it's wonderful. I don't even know. It doesn't say. I don't think I can. Okay. Glasses are here somewhere. Here they are. All right. They are Smith Street Gift. Anyway, it's wonderful. I don't see the author. The author's great. I don't see it on here. Anyway, it's wonderful. I pre-ordered it, and it just came in like 5 minutes for my client. So anyway. So I'm going to use the cards. That aside, I'm going to use the cards, and this is actually a really serious topic, so kind of heavy. I like to use things to break the heaviness. There are 7 fears. Melancholy is the first one. Poverty, which is the fear of being inadequate. So melancholy is sadness, feeling useless. Poverty is the fear of being inadequate. We've got hunger, which is the fear of being left out, and then we've got cold, which is the fear of being alone. And then I'm doing those in the right order. These are my notes. These are all my notes. I wrote something about this. There was for my Sangha a long time ago. I wrote up a treatise on. Well, basically, I don't know how else to say it. The idea of relevance, that everything in our life comes from whether or not we're relevant, or we feel relevant, and that which fears evolve from lack of relevance. So if you're not feeling relevant because you've abandoned your core purpose, you abandoned who you are at your core, you don't feel relevant. And then what happens is each one of these 7 fears kicks in, and they go melancholy, poverty, hunger, thirst, cold, and then straying from the path, and then fear of fear. That's all, right? Is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? That's it. That's all 7. So cold is far down the line. I'm actually gonna just share this with you. So what happens is we get to a point where we don't feel relevant, and I think a lot of people are struggling with this right now because they're not feeling relevant in their lives because of their identities are being like attacked right now, shattered right now. So what happens is what we do is that when we sort of abandon this core relevance, each of us comes in with something that we're supposed to be and that we're trying to be. And when we come in and we're trying to be it, everything in our life is trying to wake us up to that, what we're trying to be. And what happens is when we abandon whatever that is, for whatever reason, we give it away, or someone takes it from us, or we just or suppress it. Okay. So let's say that when you're a kid, you want to be around animals, you want to work with animals, but as you're getting older, your parents are like, well, you're never going to make it as a veterinarian. It's too competitive. You should go into business. So now you're working in business, but really what your core was to work with animals, and you're not working with animals, and you're feeling like you have no relevance because that thing that you really were supposed to be doing is been taken, given away, or suppressed. So what happens when you feel that lack of relevance, that brings about a general feeling of melancholy. That's the first fear. That's a sadness and uselessness and a willing to compromise your gut feeling for another outcome. So you're supposed to act a certain way. And I have this, what people call me all the time, they're like, I know I should go down this road, but I'm afraid and I don't know why. What happens is you compromise your own gut feeling, your own certainty, your own knowledge, your own intuition, and you settle. And then you compromise your definition of relevance for someone else's model. So if you're here to help people, but someone else has convinced you that you're supposed to sell drugs, pharmaceuticals, and you don't really feel like you're helping people, but you on the other side, you feel like you should be working with or helping animals, but now you're like, well, I can make more money selling pharmaceuticals. You may have compromised your own definition of relevance for someone else's definition. Someone else says, well, that's not relevant, this is relevant. And so you do that, you compromised your own, okay? So this, of course, becomes a habitual pattern. And then whenever I say habitual pattern, read karma. Karma means habitual pattern. So what that meant is that when you came in, your habitual pattern, your karma was to settle for someone else's model of what makes you relevant, which is probably one of the things that you're supposed to wake up to here. The fact that you continually, lifetime after lifetime, are settling for someone else's model of what makes you relevant. So once you settle, then in your quiet moments when faced only with yourself, poverty is likely to emerge. That's the second fear, the fear of poverty. That's the fear of being inadequate. Well, of course you're feeling inadequate. You compromised your own gut feelings, your own certainty of yourself, your own definition of relevance, and you're living by someone else's, right? So that's a more general, deep down overall sense that you aren't worth anything. And then if at this moment, if you don't take hold of and change, what's likely to happen is that you'll continue to settle, and then your confidence and self-esteem will diminish greatly. Okay? So that diminished self-esteem creates the next fear, which is hunger, and that's the fear of being left out of the group that you really want to be in. So you wanted to be a veterinarian, but you're part of the pharmaceutical salesman people, and you're actually missing out on the group that you really wanted to be a part of, and you're doing this over here instead, right? The absence of self-esteem and the fact that they've settled makes them unable to become part of the group that they really want to be part of, and that further ravages their self-esteem. And so you're telling yourself, oh my God, I really want to be part of these people over here, but I can't. This happens with artists a lot, well, I want to be part of the artist, but I can't. I got to do this over here. Now I've got a job. I'm working at a job I hate, but I really want to be one of these people who are being creative. And it eats on you. It eats away at your self-esteem. It eats on how you feel, and it eats on your feeling of relevance. And at this point, you're likely to start making comparisons, okay? So you're comparing yourself to other people all the time. And then what happens is guilt is also a result of all the compromising that you've done to this point, and then comparisons and guilt will produce the conditions that lead to lying. You start to lie to yourself. You start to tell yourself, well, I'm doing this because it's better for my family. I'm doing this because... No, you're doing it because you compromised your gut feeling right from the beginning back at the initial fear. It has nothing to do with everything else. Well, this is going to make me more stable. Well, I think we're seeing right now that the things that people have convinced themselves would make them more stable really aren't. And you know, if you actually went down the road and did the thing that your gut told you, maybe it would be different at this moment, or maybe at least you'd go, okay, well, I can weather this because I'm doing what I'm passionate about, and I know what value is. You see, so lying provides people at that point with an excuse to settle deeper. Well, I'm doing what's honorable. I'm doing what's right for my family. I'm doing what's right for the world. The world needs me. And then that convinces you to go, and you move into that point to the next fear, which is thirst, which is fear of missing out on experiences. Now that you're excluded from the group, that you can't possibly have the experiences that you really want to have. At this point, something weird starts to happen. This is when vicarious living starts to take hold. You're only able to have the experiences that you really want to have through movies, TVs, books, and things like, you know, people sitting around watching Netflix, reality TV, where the average person is suddenly relevant to millions of people. This is the vicarious living here. The fact is that you still want to have those experiences, but because you can't get into the group that you want to be in or have those experiences, you can only get secondhand versions. So you read about, watch, witness other people who are doing those things that you really want to do, or that be a part of a group that you really want to be in. So now you're spending all your time talking about celebrities, and who cares? They really don't care. They really don't care what's going on with you. They could care less that you're living their life for them because you really wanted to be creative, an artist, whatever. Okay, and so you're living their life secondhand. That creates a habit of settling for secondhand experiences rather than firsthand experiences. I'll read a book about it rather than go there. I'll watch someone on TV do it rather than have the experience myself. I'll do readings in private and put them in my journal instead of actually working with people and doing readings to help people, things like that, okay? So now this gets to what the person who asked me the question asked me about. Now what happens is you've gone through 1, 2, 3, 4 fears at this point. You've already gone through 4 of the 7 fears at this point, and that's when the fear of cold emerges. That's the fear of being alone. At this point, they wonder if they're even worth being around, because you've settled so much, you're given so much of yourself away, you've compromised your own instincts, your own intuition. Everything is diminished so far that they don't want to be a part of their own lives, nor does anyone else want to be a part of their lives. That's where the coldness comes in. And you're going to see that with a lot of people right now. There's a lot of stuff going on out there right now. People are at this point. Things are collapsing, things are caving in, people are getting sick, and this coldness is happening. Negativity becomes the main line of speech. So when you're watching people who are, by the way, watch this really closely. There's those people out there who claim to be love and lighters, or who claim to be, they're really negative. Watch them. Watch what they're saying. They're constantly criticizing people for not being where they are. They're constantly telling people how they should behave, how they should act. They're constantly telling people that their view of the world is what's right. Someone will say something and they'll be like, oh no, you're being negative. No, that's being negative. You're criticizing that person because of some fantasy that you convinced of in your head, because now you're living the vicarious life of believing that you're this celestial being, when in actuality you are not part of the God's realm. You are right down here in the human realm with everyone else. Negativity becomes the main line of speech at this point, where the cold is, and then pessimism becomes the worldview. Now at this point, someone said, how do you not become cold? There's a cure for this particular, actually there's a cure for each one of these fears. The cure for this particular fear is what we call little things, okay? So at this point, it has to be little things. You have to start to really appreciate and become grateful for, appreciative of, and joyous of little things, because there's so much settling that's gone at this point. You have to start to work your way back through all the fears. So in order to stop the cold, you have to go backwards from cold, through thirst, through hunger, through poverty, back through melancholy, and back to the self. There's no other way around it. So You have to start to become appreciative of and acknowledging the little things, so that you can become more positive in your view rather than the negative stuff. And then you have to be vigilant and watch it. So then what I'll tell you is that at this point, when the person is in this fear of being alone, the cold one, when they're alone, they're more likely to realize all of the compromises up to this point and really see that their lives are not working. But at that point, they tell more lies to keep them from admitting what's going on. Oh, well, I'm ascending. I'm just ascending. Everything's dark, but I'm ascending, and I'm really all powerful. They fill their pastimes with distractions and excuses, so they don't have to look at the truth. In a lot of cases, a lot of drama emerges in their life, and things where they're getting involved in drama situations, fighting with other people. This person attacked me. I don't know why I'm always being attacked. I'm just trying to be a good person, and everyone's out to get me. This drama occupies their time, because any exchange is better than no exchange at all, because they're afraid of being alone. And they'll be with people who encourage them to do bad habits, whatever it is. By now they're so afraid of. So now we go to the sixth fear, which is straying from the path. By now they're so afraid of straying from the path that they've set up that they can't even think of moving from it. Too much has deteriorated. Too much compromise has been made. So they can't possibly, they've invested so much in this whatever path they're on. They can't possibly stray from it. Too much is missing, and they can't conceive of going other route. This gives birth to the general, all-consuming fear of fear, which is the final one. So when they're on the fear of straying from the path, what happens is at this point, if you suggest anything that they try differently, they're terrified. No, I don't want to do that. I have to stay where I'm at. You can't change anything. If I change too much, they've compromised too much already. But at some point they got to face it. Otherwise, they're in the last fear, which is fear of fear. Every action they can take now creates fear and stress so crippling that they stay completely immobilized and keep from facing the enormity of what they have done. And they're now afraid of anything and everything that threatens this tenuous house of cards they created. And these are people who are easily threatened. They get into fights all the time. They snap. They blow up. They painted themselves in a corner of fear. And the only way out is they have to go backwards through all of these, all the way back to melancholy, and get back to themselves. So in terms of the cold one, which I was asked about, you've got to start by appreciating little things. That's where you have to start. Start the appreciation of little things, and then you have to move backwards through thirst, through hunger, through poverty, through melancholy. Now I'm going to give a little bit more. So that was from a piece I wrote. Like I said, I wrote this for our Sangha, our Tibetan Bon Sangha. Oh gosh, years and years and years ago. When I was learning about this aspect of the mind, and so that's that. If you have any questions about me, I'll do my best to answer. Put the questions below or write me. I'm going to see what advice. Let's see if there's any advice from the tarot cards to add to that in terms of the cold piece. Maybe one or two or three. Let's see what comes out. That's where you've got to start to recognize your own authority. And not in a way that's easily threatened where you start to explode people who challenge you. So ask yourself, if people are challenging your authority and you're exploding, you're already there. Okay, you've gone way past that. And be very careful right now of whose authority you're listening to, because your habitual pattern at that point, once you've got to coldness, or once we get to coldness, is we've already let other people tell us what we should think, what we should feel, what our definition of relevance should be. So if you got someone who's an authority telling you this is what makes you relevant and you're doing it, watch for that. And I'm going to throw two more. Strength, at this point, there's no way around it. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work to do this. And I'm not going to lie. There's no fast way around this. And people these days, especially as things start to collapse, people are like, well, I want a quick answer. Well, there aren't quick answers at this point. When we've gotten to the point where we've settled and let other people divine our relevance, it's going to take a great deal of strength to say, I don't know it all. I may be full of crap, and that's okay. I don't know it. I need to start somewhere. And that takes an awful lot of strength to look yourself in the eye or say, hey, I give up. I don't know crap. I'm going to start over. What do I need to do? All right, well, you need to start to appreciate little things. All right, well, that means every day you got to like start to look for how to appreciate the little things, and use those things to start to shape your view differently. All right, and then one more, the Emperor. Maybe that's a little more, I think, advanced. But you once you start down this road, you realize, you have to be willing to realize, and this is going to be the hardest part for some people, is that you are responsible for your life, your outcomes, and the state that it's in. No one else. No matter what is going on, you are responsible. That's why when someone asked me when I did a prediction about what was going on with coronavirus, and someone said, "Well, this is a world. This is affecting the entire world. What can we do?" I'm like, what we can do is we have to recognize that each one of us must start up here in our own minds, and then when you start to work your way backward through these fears, because a lot of people right now, they're totally at fear. They've spent so much time building this house of cards. The house of cards is starting to go, and they're like terrified. It's like, oh my God, if I make one move, what do I do? Well, you got to recognize this is all, that house is all you're building, and you are the only one responsible for the outcomes. I think I'm probably going to leave it there. I am going to leave it there. I got the Ten of Pentacles next. But for those of you who didn't, okay, so what was it? So the Hierophant was Sophia in the Golden Girls, and then we got, she's Strength, and then we got Stan is the Emperor. So that's it. That's an answer to the question, how do you deal with coldness, and a bonus. These are the 7 fears that human beings face. A little bit about them and how they relate to our relevance. And I hope that makes some sense for folks. I hope it's if you got it, like I said, I hope it wasn't too involved. Like I said, it was part of serious study and learning about the human mind and what motivates them. And I hope this brings you some benefits, some blessings, and some joy. I'm Lucky Links, as always, wishing you success and good fortune in all that you do. If you would like to get a reading from me, 779-302-8009 or conjurehope@gmail.com. If you'd like to get a class in how to read the tarot basic or how to read the tarot advanced, I got one in that. I got 2 on how to read the playing cards, advanced and beginning. I got 2 Lenormand, 1 basic, 1 grand tableau, and then how to read the Mexican lottery and how to read crystal balls. If you'd like to take any of these classes, contact me, 779-302-8009 or conjurehope@gmail.com. If you want to get your Tibetan Astrology Chart done, I have a waiting list, but I am taking people and I am taking clients. So let me know. Okay, and hey, those are the 7 fears. And once you start to realize that the center of it is really our relevance, and compromising right from the beginning our own definition of relevance for someone else's, then a lot of things start to make sense.